Up a panel. How did it go? Lone Republican sitting up there, but how did it go?
Yeah, it went fine. You know, the emphasis of the conference is talking about how we can work together and through some very tough issues. And we tackled one of those with what some want to do is on the gun control side, and certainly obviously that horrific tragedy down in Uvalde. Rings very true for all of us as we're looking at what's going to be happening. But we also talked about the Great Lakes as we're here, looking out at I guess this is technically Lake Huron here and Lake Michigan across the bridge. But at the end of the day, we end up getting along better than most people assume. Certainly, I think that what gets portrayed oftentimes. And look, you've got those show horses that are out there on social media, and they're wanting the media attention and that kind of thing. And then you've got the workhorses, who are the people that are going to go in and negotiate and figure out some solutions to these issues. And we have to talk. Because if we're not talking, how are we supposed to figure out whether we agree on 5% or 15% or 50%, right? And then let's focus in and tackle those areas where we can agree.
And Secretary Buttigieg is here. A lot of the talk around roads, infrastructure, and gas prices too. Even in your area in West Michigan, we're seeing records this week. What do you tell to people that are just worried about inflation overall, especially those gas prices?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, we're seeing price increases across the board, whether it's groceries, gas, you name it. Everything that families are trying to figure out how they're going to make those dollars stretch, because while we've seen wages increase, they have not kept pace with inflation. They have not kept pace with those price increases. So what I believe we need to do is send the right signals. One of those signals that is a very, very important one is on energy. And unfortunately, it's now Secretary Granholm, former Governor Granholm, has been a part of the Biden administration's decision to limit leases, to limit access, and to really pull us off of the world stage, because not that long ago, the U.S. was a net exporter of energy, and we're not now. And instead, we have to go to Venezuela and the Middle East and other places asking for help. I'm not comfortable with that. And in fact, we need to do the opposite. With this hammer that Russia has been holding over Europe, we have to help our allies in Europe through liquefied natural gas. They're building LNG ports right now. We've got some export stations down in Louisiana that are in the process of being built, but we need production to be able to go do that. And so that's the right signals to send to the world stage is the U.S. is open on the energy front.
I want to talk about the upcoming election.
Yeah.
A lot of drama with the Board of Canvassers not allowing some ballots to get through, not allowing some people to get on the ballot at all. And in your situation, one of the Democrats that would be running against you, who didn't have the correct amount of ballots, is now running as a write-in. What do you think about everything that's going on there?
Yeah, well, specifically on my race, this actually happened to me in 2014. Where I had somebody who withdrew the day before, and some groups of folks got together, and they made a plan and got on the ballot. Now, ironically, it's actually easier to be a write-in to get on the November ballot than it is to get the 1,000 signatures to get put on the primary ballot. So, not completely unknown. I've kind of seen this before. The only thing I would say about those who were reviewed by the Board of Canvassers, they did it to themselves. The board didn't do it to them. They did it to themselves by not having those signatures, whether it be the proper number or, frankly, whether there was the fraud involved, and they should be getting to the bottom of that with who they had hired to do that. For me personally, I learned my lesson when I saw a colleague a number of years ago who had photocopied petition sheets and some fake names that were all submitted unbeknownst to him. He did not know that. And what I do personally is I review every single sheet that I turn in. I take a look at it, and if it doesn't look right to me, I'm pulling it myself. So that to me is part of this process of how do you qualify to get on the ballot.
A lot of people in West Michigan have no idea what's going on with the redistricting.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that and what that means for voters in this upcoming election.
Confusion. Frankly, that's what it means for voters, is a lot of confusion. I believe, and I've said this publicly, I believe that the commission should have stuck to those A-poll standards, which was a state Supreme Court case that said you needed to have districts, state House, state Senate, and congressional districts that are as compact as possible, that keep counties, townships, and municipalities together, whole, if at all possible. And they ignored it. They threw that right out the window. And you've got some very, very goofy situations. The district just below the 4th, the 5th, literally stretches from Lake Michigan all the way to Lake Erie. And what I've been saying is New Buffalo and Monroe have one thing in common: the letter O in their name. That's about it, right? And they've tried to create these unnatural alliances, for, I believe, some political purposes, and that's unfortunate. So now you go with a county like Allegan, 120,000 people or so. They have 6 different state rep seats that are in that county, 6 of them. It's a nightmare as we're going into an election season again. It's a nightmare for county clerks and township clerks that are going to have multiple ballots to keep track of that. And I think some of those things are they're not going to breed confidence in the electoral system that we have, and we need that right now.
Yeah, and the chamber releasing some poll numbers ahead of this conference. 600 Michiganders they talked to us about how they feel about the election and what issues really mean most to them, and they don't have that trust as much as they used to.
Yep.
So do you think it's reasons like the redistricting, or what do you think is adding to that mistrust?
Well, certainly, in 2016 and spring of 2017, that 2016 election loomed large, where you had people on the left who literally were at my town hall meetings screaming about how Russia had flipped votes. And Donald Trump had been elected because of Russian interference. And Ohio was a main focus on that, right? 2020, that flipped around, and you've got people, again, that are feeling very unsure about what was going on. And when there's delays and there's those kinds of things, it gives people an unsettled feeling. And I'm afraid with the districts, that the way that they are, and the confusion that is going to be there, and the complication that's accompanying that, it's going to do nothing but accelerate that view. So it's going to be a tough one. It really is. The state, in my opinion, needs to tighten up everything from who is getting a absentee ballot application. Making sure that there isn't this ballot harvesting that can go on, making sure that we actually have original signatures on applications and on those ballots so that you can compare it. That to me is some common sense things, and I know the legislature has been trying to work through that, and they haven't necessarily had agreement with the governor on that, and so we'll see. That's a lot of state issues to sort out.
So what's your message then as voters head to the polls?
Get as informed as you possibly can. Look at the maps. Look at where you live. On the front end, make sure that you know where your polling place is. Make sure you know the candidates that you're potentially voting for. You may not be the person who you thought it was going to be. And so as informed as you can get, as early as you can get, the better off you're going to be.
Is there anything else I missed that you'd like to add?
Well, I think that was good.
Seth, anything?
I think we're all right. We were running the water.